All right, guys, we're going to get started on our read aloud. I'm sorry that we didn't read it yesterday. I know some people were a little disappointed in that, so sorry about that. So I wanted to make sure we read, a little today. Let me go to our camera. There you go. So you can read along with me and see what I'm looking at. So the light above me is kind of bright, isn't it? All right, so we read chapter 21 about Ron. All right, and so now we're on to chapter 22, the three Erics. In Mrs. Jewell's class, there were three children named Eric. Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, and Eric Ovens. They were known throughout the school for being fat. Eric Fry sat at this end of the room, Eric Bacon sat in the middle of the room, and Eric Ovens sat at the end of the room. There was a joke around Wayside School that if all three Erics were ever at the same end of the room at the same time, the whole school would tip over. Eric Bacon hated jokes like that. That's not surprising. After all, he wasn't even fat. In fact, he was the skinniest kid in Mrs. Jewell's class, but nobody seemed to notice. The other two Erics were fat, and so everyone just thought that all Erics were fat, which is not a very polite word, is it? But I'm not fat, Aaron Bacon insisted. What's your name? Asked Jason. Eric, said Eric Bacon. Then you're fat, Jason concluded. And pretty soon, skinny little Eric Bacon, the skinniest kid in Mrs. Jewell's class, had the nickname Fatso. Eric Fry was fat. He was also the best athlete in Mrs. Jewell's class. His body was solid muscle, however. Nobody noticed. The other two Erics weren't very good at sports. Eric Ovens was clumsy. Eric Fatso Bacon was a good athlete for his size, but because he was so skinny, he didn't have much power. So naturally, everybody just assumed that Eric Fry was also clumsy and weak. After all, his name was Eric. Whenever the other kids chose up teams, Eric Fry was the last one picked. They never noticed his home runs or the fabulous catches he made. Like all great athletes, he made the impossible look easy. Of course, the other kids did notice the one time that he dropped the ball. Eric Fry was playing right field. Terrence belted a deep fly to the left. Eric Fry raced all the way across the field after the ball and at the last second dived at it. He caught it in mid-air on his fingertips, but as he hit the ground, the ball squirted loose. Well, what do you expect from Butterfingers? Said Stephen. And since that time, Eric Fry has had the nickname Butterfingers. Eric Ovens was the nicest person in Mrs. Jewell's class. He treated everyone equally and always had a kind word to say. But because his name was Eric, everyone thought he was mean. Fatso was mean because everyone called him Fatso. Butterfingers was mean because he always had to play right field. So naturally, everyone just assumed that Eric Ovens was also mean. They called him Crabapple. Good morning, Allison, said Eric Ovens. How are you? Lay off, Crabapple, will ya? Answered Allison. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. All three of the Erics had nicknames. It was better that way. Otherwise, when someone said, Hey, Eric, no one knew to whom he was talking. One time, all the Erics would answer, and the next time, none of them would answer. But when someone said, Hey, Crabapple, then Eric Ovens knew they were talking to him. And if someone said, Hey, Butterfingers, Eric Fry knew they meant him. And when someone said, Hey, Fatso, Eric Bacon knew that he was being called. All right. Chapter 23, Allison. Allison had pretty blonde hair and always wore a sky blue windbreaker. Her windbreaker was the same color as her eyes. She was best friends with Rondi. Rondi had blonde hair too, but she was missing her two front teeth. Allison had all of her teeth. Allison used to say that she knocked Rondi's teeth out. Allison was very pretty, so all the boys in Mrs. Jewell's class teased her, especially Jason. But Allison said, Leave me alone or I'll knock your teeth out like I did Rondi's. The boys didn't bother her after that. One day, Allison brought a tangerine for lunch. She took the peel off in one piece. Miss Mush, the lunch teacher, walked up to her. Allison, may I have your tangerine? She asked. Miss Mush always gave food to the children, so Allison was happy to give her tangerine to Miss Mush. Miss Mush shoved it in her mouth and swallowed it in less than 4 seconds. Allison left the lunchroom and walked down to the library. The lunchroom was on the 15th story. The library was on the 7th. Allison already had her book. She just went to the library because it was nice and quiet there. The librarian walked up to Allison. "What are you reading?" she asked. Allison told her the name of the book. "That sounds like a good book," said the librarian. "I never read that one. May I borrow it?" The librarian always lent books to children. Allison was glad to be able to return the favor. She gave the librarian the book and then walked down the stairs outside to the playground. All of Allison's friends were playing freeze tag. Allison didn't feel like playing. She reached into the pocket of her sky blue windbreaker and took out a tennis ball. She bounced it a couple of times on the ground. Louis came up to her. "Hi, Allison," he said. "May I play with your tennis ball?" Louis always gave balls to the children. Allison happily gave her ball to Louis. Louis threw the ball all the way to the other side of the playground. Then he went chasing after it. Allison didn't feel like doing anything. Jason ran up and tagged her. "You're frozen," he said. "Get out of here before I knock your teeth out," said Allison. Jason shrugged his shoulders and left. Allison went back inside and up the 30 flights of stairs to Mrs. Jewell's room. The lunch period wasn't over yet, but Allison didn't feel like doing anything else. She had given her food to the lunch teacher, her book to the librarian, and her ball to the yard teacher. She went inside her classroom. Mrs. Jewls was there. "Oh, Allison, I'm glad you're here," said Mrs. Jewls. "I'm having trouble with an arithmetic problem. Maybe you can help." "Sure," said Allison. Mrs. Jewls always helped the children with their problems. Allison was happy to help. "How do you spell chair?" asked Mrs. Jewls. "Chair," said Allison. "Yes, that's right," said Mrs. Jewls. "I knew it wasn't Chare, but I couldn't remember what it was." "That's not an arithmetic problem," said Allison. That's spelling." "Yes, you are right again," said Mrs. Jewls. "I always get the two mixed up." The bell rang. The lunch period was over. Allison could hear the other children running up the stairs. "Allison," said Mrs. Jewls, "you learned a very important secret today, and I don't want you to tell any of the other children, not even Rondi." "Oh, I lost my place. Not even Rondi." "What was that?" asked Allison. She didn't even know she had learned a secret. She loved secrets. "You learned that children are really smarter than their teachers," said Mrs. Jewls. "Oh, no, that's no secret," said Allison. "Everybody knows that." And we're going to read this last one, chapter 24, Damien. Damien had hazel eyes with a little black dot in the middle of each of them. The dots were called pupils. So was Damien. He was a pupil in Mrs. Jewls' class. So there's an old-fashioned name for student, is a pupil. Mrs. Jewell was about to show the class a movie. She turned out the lights. When it was dark, Damien's pupils got bigger. "Damien," said Mrs. Jewls, "run downstairs and ask Louis if he'd like to see the movie with us." Damien ran down the 30 flights of stairs to the playground. He stepped outside as Louis was hooking up the tetherball. "Hey, Louis," Damien called. "Do you want to see a movie with Mrs. Jewls' class?" Louis rubbed his chin. What movie?" he asked. Damien shrugged his shoulders. "I don't know," he said. "I'll be right back." Damien ran all the way back up the stairs to the 30th story. "Louis wants to know what movie," said Damien. "Does he want to throw the name of the movie or what the movie is about?" "Oh, does he want to know the name of the movie or what the movie is about?" asked Mrs. Jewls. "I don't know," said Damien. "I'll ask him." Damien raced back down the stairs and out to the playground. "Louis, do you want to know the name of the movie or what the movie's about?" he asked. "The name," said Louis. "Okay," said Damien. Damien hurried back up the 30 flights of stairs. He took the steps 2 at a time. "He wants to know the name," said Damien. "Turtles," said Mrs. Jewls. Damien turned around, took a deep breath, then ran back down the stairs. "Turtles," Damien told Louis. "Hey, that might be good," said Louis. "What's it about?" "I'm not sure," said Damien. "I'll find out." Damien raced back up the stairs, but first he stopped to take a drink of water. What's it about, Mrs. Jewls?" asked Damien. Turtles, said Mrs. Jules. Damien rushed back down the stairs to tell Louis. Turtles, said Damien. No, thanks, said Louis. I don't like turtles. They are too slow. Damien lowered his head and slowly walked up the 30 flights of stairs. His legs were sore, he could hardly breathe, and his side ached. By the time he got to Mrs. Jules' class, the movie was over. All right, class, said Mrs. Jules. I want everybody to take out a piece of paper and a pencil and write something about turtles. Damien had missed the movie, but he still could have written something about turtles. Turtles are too slow. But now he couldn't find his pencil. It just wasn't his day. What's the matter, Damien? Asked Mrs. Jules. I can't find my pencil, said Damien. Class, Damien's pencil is missing, Mrs. Jules announced. What did it look like, Damien? She asked. It was long and yellow, said Damien. It had a black point at one end and a red eraser at the other. I found it, said Todd. Here, by the blackboard, excuse me. Yes, that's it, said Damien. No, there it is, in the corner of the wastebasket, said Crabapple. Maybe that's it, said Damien. Here it is, said John. It's been in my desk the whole time. No, here it is in my hand, said Joe. I found it, said Rondi. Here it is, said Allison. I found it, or I have it, laughed DJ. I found it, said Myron. Which one is yours, Damien? Asked Mrs. Jules. Damien studied his pencil. They all look the same as mine. Fortunately, at that moment, Louis walked into the classroom. He handed Damien a pencil. You dropped this when you were telling me about the movie, said Louis. Thanks, said Damien. Okay, class, said Mrs. Jules, so that we have no more mix-ups, I want everybody to write his name on his pencil. Damien spent the rest of the day trying to write his name on his pencil. Damien's pencil couldn't write on itself. It was just like his beautiful hazel eyes with a black dot in the middle. They could see everything except for themselves. All right, we're going to pick up tomorrow with Jenny, which tomorrow will be Monday. So we're going to pick up at that point. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying the book. I had some words to fumble over today, didn't I? All right. Thank you guys for following along with me on this book. We're getting pretty close to the end. And then we'll start another book. So I'm excited about that. It'll probably be a read aloud that we're all going to do together. So I'm going to need to get that put together so I can send it to you when we get finished with this book. All right, guys. Have a great, wonderful, superb weekend.